Welcome into the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pepper Jack's Grill, Pyramid Contractors, and Sinovation. Omaha, Jimmie and Casey Matthews with you following Creighton's 85-58 loss to number 2 UConn at home. And Casey, the story's the same. I mean, different team, different score, but the physicality from the Huskies today was really the difference in this game.
Yeah, it was a big difference maker. I feel like their physicality in a lot of different areas. One, the way they set screens. Two is just the advantage they created on the boards. We were just really outmatched. And, there's just not a ton you can say more than that about that specific topic. But, yeah, they were the more physical team from the jump. And it shows. It shows when you look at the scoreboard.
Creighton scores under 60 points at home, and the key stat that stands out, 0 of 11 from three-point land in the second half. I don't know how many teams you're going to beat, let alone the number 2 team in the country shooting at that rate. Nick Graves was kind of the hero of the first half. He finished the first half with 15 points. The problem is he finished the game with 17, so he cooled off at the end. And listen, that's the balances of shooters balancing out, right? But only Nick Graves and Blake Harper scoring in double digits tonight. Blake struggled at times in the second half as well. We talked about his difference in the beginning of the first half and just being physical and getting downhill and getting to the rim. He started tonight. Blake Harper did. Nick Graves both started. Both got that kind of shot in the arm, getting thrusted into the starting lineup, and it just kind of seemed like we were just on the Hoops Cat pod with Mark and just talking about the difference, and it really felt like UConn just kind of settled in about the 4-minute mark left to go in the first half and just kept their guards around the perimeter defensively and just ran Creighton off their spots. And that was the difference in this game.
Yeah, no, for sure. They create a lot of issues for any team. There's from a defensive standpoint, one, they're long, they're physical. They really make it tough for you to run your actions. It's something that we want to ask Coach Huss about here in a minute. But they're also on the flip side of that, offensively, they're just as physical on the offensive side, and that's not always the case. When you're playing against teams. So this is one of those games where I honestly there's not a lot to talk about in a sense because they really outclassed us in a lot of different areas. So there's Coach Huss coming in. And
Coach, go ahead and grab a seat here. Let me know if you got room. Great assistant coach Alan Huss joining us here on the Roll Jays podcast. Coach, obviously a tough loss tonight. We talked about the physicality from UConn tonight. What did you see that was giving this offense so much fits from the physicality standpoint?
I think I'm not terribly intelligent, and so I like really simple things to focus on. And when you look at this game, I think it boiled down in the most simplistic terms. When it comes to toughness things, they were a tough team, and we were a team that's not there yet. We lost the line of scrimmage in every screening battle, whether that was on the offensive or defensive side of the basketball. They set some really borderline illegal screens, and we got hung up on them rather than adjusting to the way the game was being officiated. We encountered those screens on the defensive end. Then offensively, they did the exact same thing to us. They were they manhandled us in every screening action, whether it's on ball or off ball. You start looking to offensive basketball, and it's pretty simple, at least for me, because I can't handle the super complex things. But as I look at it, offensive advantage is created in just a few different ways. Number one, it's running faster than the other team to the other end. In order to do that, you got to be tough enough to get a defensive rebound. And obviously we got crushed in that department. Number two, you have to have a qualitative advantage. And against a team like UConn, who's as talented as they are, having qualitative advantages in places is challenging. We don't have a guy we can just throw it to at the elbow who's just better than their guy. So then it boils down to the third way, which is screening games, whether that's on-ball screening actions or off-ball screening actions. And those require a certain level of toughness, a certain level of physical strength, and a certain level of mental resolve to kind of play through the contact. And we were unable on both ends of the floor to win those line of scrimmage battles. It's no different than football. If you get beat up in the line of scrimmage in those actions, you're going to have a difficult time. And I think that's exactly what happened to us this evening.
Was it, Huss, like I was talking after the game about I've watched this team on TV, seeing them in person. They were more impressive to me in person. Did you feel like the guys felt like that? Because it did. It's weird even asking that question because they're all college basketball players and they want to be pros, but it really did feel like, especially in the second half, that they didn't feel like they could compete physically with them. Like, and maybe it is a toughness thing. I think that's what I point to. I asked Jimmie, my first question was going to be about screening, so you took away my first question. But it just felt like it was like predetermined that they were going to hit screens, and that we weren't going to gain an advantage. Is that a mentality thing?
Well, Casey, I can tell you, you've been in our practices. It was predetermined for us to do the opposite.
Oh, for sure.
In both those cases. Embarrassingly, I'll tell you that's what we've spent the last 2 days of our prep is trying to get to outside hips and chase with urgency on the defensive side of the basketball. Then on the offensive side of the basketball, we really felt like if we could win line of scrimmages, we could create some advantage. And I think tonight what we did, we could. Of course, our defensive strategy is to play without fouling. Theirs is to foul so much you can't call them all. And so, again, if you look over if you look over the series history here, it's worked out in our favor more oftentimes than not. Tonight, though, clearly the advantage was to UConn's style of play and their players and coaching staff and all involved executing their plan at a higher level than ours. It was a battle of contrasting styles, and they absolutely physically manhandled us in all of those actions. And Casey, I think to your point, we've had guys in these past battles that understand what they're getting into when they play UConn. And it's a physical confrontation on both sides of the basketball for 40 minutes. And I think when we had a difficult time making open shots, I think if you look at that first 20 minutes, you go back to the quality of shot we got some good looks. We didn't knock them down. A tough team, both physically and mentally, is capable then of playing through when you don't make those shots and being a team that hangs around. A team that's not there yet when it comes to both mental and physical toughness has letdowns when those shots don't go in. Obviously, some of our key players tonight had a difficult time getting going offensively. All of that was disappointing. And then, if you look at dive deeper into what we do offensively, when we have a difficult time on the defensive glass, we have a difficult time scoring because this is a team that relies heavily on our transition game. And when we're taking the basketball out of the net, they're able to set their token full court pressure, and they turned that completely into a game played at the pace and style where they wanted it. They were able to keep it in the half court, make it into a wrestling match, and physically punk us out. And so, poor job by us having them ready for it. And again, hats off to a team that's really talented and equally well coached at UConn.
I have to say this, and I know it's just being, like you said, I was in the locker room, I've been around it. I respect the hell out of you for saying those things about not having them prepared. I do. But at the same time, this is another example of a game where we've heard maybe effort, toughness. I'm asking you more now, you're going to be the head coach of this program. How can you get teams to be tougher and play harder? At some point, it has to be in them. And I'm asking an impossible question to answer. I realize that. But I've watched your High Point teams, and I think there's one thing that you could say about with a lot of things, but you guys always were tough and you played hard, and that has to be somewhat of you doing something. So I'm just more what is? Can you point to any of those things, or is it just a?
You're also below camera grade, so if you need to throw an elbow on that side of the table, we won't be able to get it caught on camera.
This is not a question this is not a question about Mac at all.
No. Yeah, sure.
It's about players.
Yeah.
And I'll say firstly, Case, I think you know how I'm wired. I have a certain intensity level to me that Mac has a certain way of doing things that's been unbelievably successful. had I not been here for 6 years prior to going to High Point, I would have never been in a position to be able to win games like we were. Yes, we got to be a pretty tough basketball team at times. I would argue, though, that in a different way, our Creighton teams that have had a lot of success have been, I would say, mentally far superior in that toughness category because we just don't make mistakes. I think the tough thing for us this season, and I'm going to answer your question that you didn't ask at all and tell you what I want to say. To me, it's this. Mac's defense is designed there's different ways to do things, obviously. Mac's defense is designed to bend, not break, to stay out of rotation, and to be unbelievably difficult to get into scramble situations. Because of our inexperience and at times our lack of leadership, some injuries, and a whole series of things, a lot of new being probably at the forefront of everything, lack of rim protection, all those things. Because of those things, we're in scramble situations way too often. And as you look at just kind of the way we broke down defensively tonight, they didn't do one thing that we weren't, in my opinion, very prepared to defend. But we were unable to stay out of those scramble situations, and we're not athletically put together in a way to survive consistently scrambling. It's not what we spend. We spend our time trying to stay out of scrambles. For the last 16 years, Mac's been unbelievably successful at getting his defenses to stay out of scrambles. And I'd argue, over the past, whatever it's been, 5-6 years against UConn, however long they've been back in the league, nobody's done a better job of keeping
100%.
them out of those scrambles than us. Tonight, they're a team that's playing with elite level confidence, and they've played really well. They've shot the ball poorly. And so, unfortunately, the water always comes back to level. The law of averages, however you want to describe that. They're a team that tonight they've struggled to shoot the basketball a little bit recently. They made 16 threes. When teams do that, they get us in scrambles and they make 16 threes. It's going to be challenging for us. But I mean, you got a guy like Ross. He's shooting. I think he was shooting 9% coming into the game tonight, made 2 threes. Like, it's just sometimes those things happen. And that's certainly not to make an excuse because some of their key guys made them as well.
Yeah, there's only 2 shots of the night as well.
But you look at it and go, we get some of our best shooters wide open set shots. Like, we run a baseline out of bounds play to start the second half. We can't get a better shot for our best shooter, and he just misses it. And then they come flying off and make a difficult one. So sometimes, you get up against really difficult odds just because of the way teams shoot. Sometimes it's a make or miss game, but that's, again, where we go back to the toughness. That's where you got to hang in there and survive when they're making shots and you're missing them.
But that's the mental toughness that you're talking about.
Exactly. And we're not there. We're coming up short as a staff, finding a way to get our guys there.
Yeah.
I want to ask about something you mentioned a minute ago on the points of emphasis in practice this week. There was obviously 2 changes to the starting lineup with Nick Graves and Blake Harper being enthralled into those. Obviously, Nick was on fire in that first half. How much of that decision to make those changes was based on the emphasis in practice this week versus those guys maybe earning those spots from what they did in practice?
A little bit. We just need a spark. You look back, the last 6 games, we've played poorly. Even the ones we've won, we haven't played up to our standard. We try to be process oriented. We needed a spark. I think Mac thought it'd be a spark. Blake Harper, if you look at some really advanced numbers, his offensive and defensive leverage, like his impact in our offensive and defensive efficiency when he's in the basketball game, is at a really high level. We're a better offensive team and a better defensive team with him on the floor. The same could be said for Nick Graves.
Sure.
And so I just think we looked at those numbers. We've watched what's happened in practice. We've been in a bit of a lull, not playing our best basketball. And I think Mac thought that would ignite a spark. And I think for the start of the game, it did. We just, like I said, we weren't mentally tough enough when things started to spiral against us to dig in and figure out a way to hang around until we could make a basket.
Yeah. Huss, I mean, look, I think we can put this one behind us, man. You guys are going to watch it and have to break it down. But for fans, when I look at the schedule coming up, there's some winnable games. So you got to take one at a time. is there a feeling internally that you just need, like you said, a spark? You just need to win one, get some.
Who do we play next? I don't even know.
DePaul,
yeah.
DePaul's really good.
It's not DePaul actually.
Georgetown next.
Georgetown, Seton Hall, and then DePaul. DePaul's the next road game. Sorry.
Yeah, so Georgetown. I mean, Georgetown's won 3 in a row, I believe. I think they won again this afternoon.
They did. Yep.
They're playing
better.
In my opinion, they're playing really good basketball. I think they have the 3rd or 4th most talented roster in our league. They have some of those qualitative advantages on us in a couple of different spots. So it's going to be up to us to try to figure out a way to take a day off tomorrow and get these guys back, with a hyper focus on the details and the toughness it's going to take to give us an opportunity to win on the road. I mean, we haven't played well on the road in quite some time, and so we got to get back to it and see if we can dial something different up.
Coach, we'll go ahead and let you get out of here. Obviously, a tough night, but a lot of basketball left to play and a lot of time to get some things fixed. Thanks for your time, Alan Huss, Creighton assistant coach, join us here.
Thanks for all those. I mean, that was really in depth.
That was fantastic.
Really good.
Alan Huss joining us on the Sinovation Coaches Quarter tonight.
The people don't know, we worked together for a long time. The smart ass.
I like when Casey answers questions he absolutely knows the answer to, because we shared an office wall for a half a decade. Like he knows the answer to all these.
I don't know if they can see it on camera, but Huss was cracking his knuckles a couple times while Casey was.
I learned.
He knows the answer to these questions.
I learned
he can
a lot
pretend
from this guy.
He can pretend like he doesn't know these answers. If you want to listen to somebody on one of these podcasts, Casey's probably a pretty good guy because he knows a lot about basketball and a lot about our program.
Coach, thanks, buddy. We appreciate it. Great assistant coach Alan Huss joined us here on the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pepper Jack's Grill, Pyramid Contractors, and Sinovation. Obviously, Georgetown up next. 5 of the last 9 games on the road for this program, and sometimes it helps to get out of your comfort zone, out of your home gym. But shots weren't falling in your home gym tonight, so something's got to change a little bit. And I was, obviously, Alan Huss was very brutally honest about all of those situations.
Before we get into that, and don't lose your train of thought.
Sure.
Because you ask great questions. I
pay him to say that.
I have to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was being very genuine when I just said his answers.
Sure.
Because we did. I think
it was pretty obvious he was too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we did share a wall, as he said it, for half a decade. Like,
well, I want to point out that you gave him an out not to answer that question about the defensive side of the ball. And I think he gave you the most brutally honest answer that he could have.
I just this is one reason why it's such a weird feeling right now to me as a Creighton fan and somebody who covers the team, loves the team, because I love Greg McDermott.
Yeah.
He
famously the president of the fan club.
I am. And he is a mentor to me. And he's such a good person. And I love him. And he's an unbelievable basketball coach. All that being said, so is this dude.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like there's a part of me that's excited to see what it looks like under Huss, but then there's other part of us. No, just hang tight. Let's let Mac do his thing for a couple more years. But anyway, I say that to say this: the answers to the questions, the thoroughness. This dude, he
may have thought that through a time or two.
He's so prepared, but
I think we need him to teach a class to the rest of the coaching staff on how to talk into a microphone, by the way.
He was pretty good.
Yeah, I was literally blown away with Lou, I know you're going to watch this. Murph, I know you're going to watch this. I mean, that was a master class on how to talk into a microphone.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I don't know. I just hope the people that are watching and that do watch the replay understand, this man's going to be our head coach, and he sat here after getting beat by 30 and answered questions.
I want to unpack what he said about the defensive question, though, because I think that sounded like, and I think it's what he meant to sound like, that there may be some difference in philosophy on the way he wants to coach defense versus the way it's being coached right now. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important to point out, I think every one of the coaches on the staff, if they came up, would probably give you that same answer as well. I mean, it's just a different in philosophy. But with that being said, I also think there are a lot of gaps on this team that even if you switch up the style of how you're playing defense, may not matter all that much either. And I think that's what he was alluding to.
Yeah, I think that we're in a tough spot. Okay.
Yeah.
I think from a physicality standpoint, it's certainly a mentality. It's certainly, you have to have a willingness to put yourself in harm's way, so to speak, physically.
But hold on, because this is going to sound like an excuse, And I'm just going to state facts here. Your starting 5-man that you were expecting to be here hasn't really played basketball since February, essentially, and then got dinged up again. The guy that you had him backing him up for most of the season is playing Americanized basketball for the first time. So your actual starting 5 is really closer to a 4/3 tweener, and he's making the best he can. Listen, Jason, I think, has exceeded all expectations in that aspect. But when you look at that as the guys you have available, and that's no shade to anybody, those are just pure facts. I don't know what else you could do.
Okay, but I think that's why what Huss said was so good.
That's what I'm saying.
That it's not just that.
Yeah.
It's up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a toughness can be defined, and it is defined in a lot of different ways. Some people define toughness a way that I would define stupidity. I don't think that being tough necessarily means that if somebody bumps you when you're walking by,
you fight them.
Right, that to me isn't tough.
That's dumb.
But right?
Yeah.
So I think you can apply some of those same principles to the court. Toughness isn't always just hitting somebody. Toughness, like, to me, it's what he said, can you do what you're supposed to do
in the right moment
for every minute that you're on the court? But then if you don't, can you take accountability and responsibility for it? And that's what I felt like we were seeing more of
tonight.
No.
Okay. I was going to wholeheartedly disagree with you.
Probably
So
like early January to me, maybe like late December.
The second half of that K-State game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And slowly that to me, we've reverted to the almost like unwillingness.
When things
to be that
get
way.
tough, that's when you fall back on bad habits. And I think it's fair to point out that this team, maybe more than past Creighton teams, have fouled or gone to save a basketball and thrown it to the wrong team on an open court, or just things like that in situations where we haven't necessarily seen past Creighton teams do that. And I think that's specifically why Alan Huss said, and sometimes a lack of a leadership role is specifically in moments like that, because when you're down by 2 and you turn over the basketball to an open court and you're going to make a hero play and having that look at me moment, you turn around and throw it to a guy in a different colored jersey, he goes and puts Showtime on, you're down 4, and then it's a run. And specifically, that happened twice tonight at the beginning of those 4-minute scoring droughts. Now, that's not the only reason. There's a lot of reasons those 4-minute scoring droughts happen. But if you're going to beat yourself, it's going to be hard to beat other teams.
It is. But again, I think this is a really important topic to discuss and to really go into, especially with all the things Huss gave us, is that it is a mentality. And when you have Nesbitt come on after the Marquette game and talk about Mac having to coach energy and effort for 2 days before the game, and then you sit here and you hear Huss talk about the level of toughness, can I play devil's advocate for a minute, though? I mean, you can. Yeah.
Because here's what I want to point out, and it's everything that I just said. Now, listen, I want to point out this is the NIL era, and these guys are getting paid to do this, so I can criticize them for that reason. And listen, they're also a group of guys that are expecting to be criticized because this program has high standards. But is it fair to say that we've seen guys like Stephen Ashworth, like Jemiah Neal, like Baylor Shireman, their first year in this program, come in here and be swimming from a mentality standpoint and sometimes make plays that they didn't characteristically make in the latter half of the second season in this program, and obviously not in Jemiah's case in the second half of his first year, but get better with time, and the complexity of the system doesn't sometimes allow you to make the right play or be ready to make the right play because of the complexity of this offense and sometimes this defense. So this group of guys that's coming in with all of the things against them that I already mentioned are still swimming from learning the system as well. And it gets really tough, or it gets really hard to be tough or mentally tough while you're thinking and not responding. You know what I'm saying? Is that a fair assessment? Like, I think there's a toughness problem with this team. I do. But I also think it's fair to say both of those things can be true.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I think I would agree with you if this was December 31st, maybe.
Sure.
Maybe if this was December 10th.
Sure.
At this point, it's hard for me to agree with that, because it's kind of like they say about, like NFL rookies, like at some point in time, you're no longer a rookie.
Right.
Like
sure. Fair.
And so I that to me, I don't know if I can get all the way there. Like maybe for a Hudson, he's a freshman.
Doesn't get a lot of minutes.
Doesn't get a lot of yes, and he's had some he's had some injuries. The red shirt, you just check out mentally when you're getting a red shirt, and then having to switch back. Like maybe you can make that argument for him. Maybe
and then the injury.
Yes.
See, but that's the thing though. Is like you can almost go down the list of this roster and say everything you just said about Hudson from the way that listen, Jason started off the season expecting to have Jackson McAndrew available, expecting to have Owen Freeman available, has switched his role, 5 times now on this team. Josh Dix was thought to be the leading scorer and has been asked to be listen, Josh was going to be one of the best defenders on this team anyway, but has been asked to do more on the defensive side of the ball. Karam Konan has come in here, doesn't speak English as his first language, is playing more minutes than he was expected to. Yeah. But I mean, like Nick Graves, thought to come in and become the starting point guard, has been benched at one point, has still been giving you 18 to 25 minutes a game despite that, now gets thrust into the starting role. Like you can go down the list of this team and say this person's role has changed maybe at minimum 5 times this year. And listen, that happens in basketball. Guys get hurt, things happen. But like
here's the thing, Jimmy.
I'm just saying that all of these things can be true. Like what you're saying can be true, but there could be some caveats to why we haven't seen the mental advancement or the mental toughness show up, because it's easy for me to be mental tough on Monday, but if my role is completely changed 3 times by Friday, it's a little difficult.
I think yes, I think more than one thing could be true at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
yeah.
For me, it's the part that really gets me is the effort, and I really didn't want to go there with Huss because I can tell you from
he may be a demanding coach. Is that what you're saying?
Well, coaching effort at this point is inexcusable.
Yeah, I agree.
But like, what do you do, right? If you're Mac,
they're still gonna roll the ball out 9 more times,
right? Like, do you just go screw it? I'm not gonna coach. No, you have to. But it's like it really is deflating.
Well, I think this loss tonight specifically makes that conversation really interesting because we are having to discuss after Marquette. The at-large bid discussion is over. And at some point, it has to be about the future.
Right.
And, I was really surprised. I didn't even see how many minutes he finished with. But Hudson tonight, I think he played more than 5, right? He played 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But he didn't play till the second half.
There's a certain level of that, though, Jimmy, because I got some texts about Hudson. Like, there's a certain level of that we were competitive.
No, I agreed, 100%.
So, and he just hasn't earned Mac's trust yet. There's certain guys.
It'd be weird if he had at this point.
Yes and no. Like, I think he's kind of stuck in, like, him and Fedor kind of fight for minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for whatever reason.
And Fedor finished with 18.
And I don't think Mac necessarily just trusts Fedor. I think it's just.
I think that's readily apparent.
If in this kind of game, I think he does trust Fedor more. And I also think you do have this thing, and I don't know that Mac would ever say it. I don't know if a head coach would, but I've had conversations with head coaches before about this, which is there's a certain level which you have to protect people from themselves.
Yep, 100%.
And that
freshmen or seniors.
I'm not going to say that's the case here because I think Hudson's tough. I think he's athletic.
Mm-hmm.
I think he gives us a lot of things that a lot of guys don't give us on the court. So,
but he's also young and makes mistakes.
Yeah, and again, there's a compounding effect sometimes with mistakes, and you want to do your part and try to keep guys, again, keep them out of harm's way in certain areas. So, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I mean, I know Huss was very complimentary to me. I don't.
How much did you pay him to say that?
I don't make enough money to pay him enough to say that. He's awesome. He's really good at this. And look, I mean, the truth is, like, I do have some of the thoughts, and I'm trying to putting myself on the other side of the camera, like what would I want to hear about? Yeah. And so asking some of those questions and trying to help kind of make the answer easier. But I'm
not gonna lie, when he said, I'm gonna answer your question that you didn't ask, I thought he was just gonna tell us skirt around it, and I would have hated it. I thought that was as brutally honest as he could have given us.
He's I'm just telling you, man. I really do. I struggle with this of like, I can't wait to see him lead this program. I don't want Mac to leave.
Yeah.
Can we find a way to have 2 teams at Creighton and then each get one? I don't know. But like, it's going to be interesting to see because there's going to be a different style of play. There's going to be a different style of player. There's going to be a different style of how you handle officiating. There's a lot of different things that we're going to see. I'll
say this. Mac was getting after the officials tonight.
Oh, no, Max.
Yeah.
Look, we can go deep into this. I love talking about this because I I don't know if close is the right word with officials. Like Tim Clougherty was here tonight, and he's a guy that I really like being around and talking to. And I when you get close enough and like you start to interact with them in timeouts and whatnot, because I was never important enough to be in the huddle like coaching, is that you start to figure these guys out and you learn. And Tim would always tell me like he loves coaching, or he loves officiating Creighton games because he knows he can do his job. Mac's going to hold him accountable, but he's going to do it in a way that's respectful. This is something that's always interesting to me. Referees, and I'm not a big referee guy, you know that, but referees have a tendency to be very arrogant when it comes to mistakes. And I think that's human nature. I do. I think when
nobody likes being criticized,
18,000 people here all staring at you and cheering for you when you make a call that's in their favor and booing you when you make a call that's against them. There is some human nature to that. But the one thing I'll say with Mac coached teams is I've seen it time and again. Officials come over to Mac and say, Mac, I went and looked at that call. You were right. And I've asked them about this. And I said, like, why do you guys go and tell Mac that? And he said, because Mac never, ever gets on us and jumps on us unless he's certain about something. And most of the times he's right.
Right.
And Tim didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
I want to be very, very clear about this. Officiating had nothing to do with the final score of this game tonight. There have been some really brutally officiated games this season across the Big East. Yeah. And I watch more Big East basketball than any other conference, obviously. But there's just been some games this year. I'm like,
yeah, they're not good. I'll keep thoughts to myself because I don't know. I think Mac would be disappointed in me if I started calling guys out by name on a Creighton on the weekly show. I'll call some guys out, but on the Creighton show I won't do that. But there's a few. There's a few, and but yeah, this game had nothing to do with that.
And I don't even mean specifically like against or for Creighton. I mean, there have just been some calls this season where I'm like, the only person that touched the guy with the ball was the Holy Spirit. Like, what are we blowing the whistle for?
I found it interesting too what Huss said about UConn specifically. Which
I like that analogy.
I said it to Mark when we were on the UConn one. It was like that's what UConn does is they just foul you so much and dare you to call them. And I mean, Huss kind of said the same thing. It's like it's difficult to play against these teams if you are not able to physically match them because of that.
From a response standpoint,
yeah. Well, yeah, because you're going against the team when you're trying to create advantages and you're not bigger than them, you're not faster and stronger than them, and then they're going to hold you on top of that. It's not easy. So this is a rough one. I mean, we can talk about this all night, Jim, but I know you got to roll.
Yeah, well, hey, I do
too.
Thank you to everybody that joined tonight. A fantastic outing tonight. Nobody decided to leave a comment. That's perfectly fine. We appreciate everybody that joined us. This has been the Roll Jays podcast.
Can we say one, Jimmy? I'm sorry to cut you off again.
By
you didn't
Pepper,
say
Jack's
anything,
Grill, and Pyramid Contractors and Sonovation Omaha. Good.
But you didn't say anything about the purple zip or the
That's pink. It's a
up.
pink out tonight, Casey, for cancer.
It's the purple out too. No, but you didn't say anything about it, and I'm kind of offended.
I did at halftime.
You did?
Yeah, we talked about it for about 4 minutes. Thanks for being here. You don't remember I said they always cut onions about that time during the game?
Well, no. I was talking specifically about Jerry Ryan. This is a Jerry Ryan.
Oh, it is Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear, 78th Dodge is where Casey's quarter zip is from tonight. Thank you to Dan.
I think it's sharp. My wife was kind of looking at me when I walked out. I was like, I got to get home early tonight. But, I mean, she likes the Jerry Ryan pink.
Well, if anybody wants to know how Casey Matthews is spending the rest of his evening tonight,
I hope.
Say a prayer. Hey, Creighton Falls.
Don't forget about home field apparel, too.
85 to 58. If you need some throwback, head over to homeapparel.com tonight as well. Grab yourself some great Creighton jersey. You probably hope she's not, actually, after that statement.
She's going to bed right now.
My wife just commented and said she's watching. So,
awesome.
Shout out to all the wives of Creighton University.
Jimmy's wife. I'm just saying, it looks nice tonight.
I should have worn my Jerry Ryan Creighton polo tonight. This has been the Roll Jays podcast, and somehow that's how we're closing it out tonight. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Big East Energy below. Go check out Mark and the Hoops Cap pod tonight if you're a UConn fan and ended up here. Great coverage over there. Great coverage of all the universities around the Big East Conference. Again, Creighton Falls 85 to 58. I'm trying to rebound. I'm trying to rebound from this.
Jimmy's a pro, and I got him flustered. I love it.
We'll see you next time. We'll see you for the Georgetown game. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Alan Huss. Thanks to all.